there's something stupid brewing on the right. And it's called masculism. And it's coming from the most degenerate, trashy piece of crap men that we have in our society. And they just happen to be some of the most famous men on the planet that got booted off the fence. Basically, you get booted off the fence if you answer any question a certain way. For instance, if you're asked, can a man be a woman? Your answer to that question determines what tribe you get kicked into. You don't even have to walk over to the tribe or anything, or willingly become a participant in that tribe. What happens is, it's so crazy nowadays, and the left has gone so far cuckoo bananas, they've shifted the whole goalpost to where they're in crazy land. And if anybody answers a question that goes against crazy land, like answering, can a man be a woman? That simple question determines where they kick you, what tribe you get kicked into. And that's how it's working nowadays. That's why I say that there is no middle ground anymore. They burned the fence that some of us used to sit on when things weren't so crazy. When things weren't so crazy just 10, 20 years ago, a lot of us were just sitting on the fence with our feet dangling, looking on both sides saying, you're idiots and you're idiots. But now a lot of people are just getting kicked off the fence for having rational minds or irrational minds. So if your mind is irrational, you're kicked to the left. If your mind is rational, you're kicked to the right. But that doesn't mean that the right is made up of all good, decent people, and doesn't mean that the left is made up of all sadistic weirdos. Now what I have is 2 very short little clips, and then I'll give my commentary after those clips. So you can draw your own conclusions from the clips, and then if you want to stick around, you can hear my commentary after that. But just watch the clips so you can see what's going on for real.
You're aware of the media coverage of this, however. So you're in jail for 90 days or more, and the rest of the world is talking about you. Do you know what they're saying?
They're saying very heinous things, and I would hate to come across as a conspiracy theorist, Tucker, but I kind of have a feeling that this might be something to do with my influence and an attempt to slander my name. Perhaps I'm crazy. But the fact that they chose such a heinous crime, and they reported it so heavily, and they won't shut up and keep repeating basically a slander attack day after day after day. Also considering the fact that other people who genuinely commit heinous crimes have far more favorable press coverage. I don't want you to think I'm a conspiracy theorist. Please, Tucker, I would hate for you to come here and call me crazy. Yeah. But something very strange about it, and I think
What, when Jeffrey Epstein's friends call you immoral?
You cannot get a girl to work for you having. So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it, and it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not going to work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f*** the girl. After you f*** the girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy. You're always at work. You can come work for me. So, as I said, you cannot try and approach girls to do webcam. Hi, do you want to do webcam? It's bullshit. It doesn't work. No one's going to say yes. And any girl who does say yes is doing it. She doesn't like you. She doesn't know you. She doesn't love you. She's saying yes purely for money. Any girl who wants money that bad is going to skank you and leave you when she realizes you get a big cut of it. So even if you do get a girl to say yes that way, even if you do say to a girl, look, let's make some money.
Women are commodity to him.
She's not in it to please you. And she's only
he
in it
has
for the
no
money.
respect
She's
for
gonna
women.
Get pissed off with her cut. Because they're going to Google up how much a token's worth, how many tokens they made, all that shit. They get pissed off with their cut.
But these women have no respect for themselves either if they do that with him.
So you don't want a girl who's in it for money.
It's not all his fault.
To be with you.
It's their fault
so you
too.
meet a girl, you take her on dates, she passes the PhD test, then you start saying things like, oh yeah, but you're always working, I have to do some traveling and you can't come, I want to bring you with me. Traveling is a great one because the thing about this business is mobile. If you can find a good Airbnb with good internet, you can run it somewhere else. So this is a good little caveat to throw in. And you're always working. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? So I'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen. Come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom is a new girl. You go out for a nice dinner. Your bottom is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear from a girl. And this is where your bottom is trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl. My first girl was so good, it was easy. My girl would sit there and go, oh my God, before this I was a waitress, and now I do this, I make so much money, and the guys all love me, and they adore me, and on my birthday they send me presents, and I get you come with us.
You understand what he's all about there.
Martinis,
and how he views
bang,
women,
threesome.
treats women.
Slam them both.
But like I said, he's not doing it alone. These women are also to blame for these situations that they're in with him and allowing him to pimp them. Okay, my opinion is that he is trying to erase that part of his past where he was a pimp, a digital pimp. And he's not talking about TikTok in that old video. In that old video, he's instructing men on how to be digital pimps. How to make women into sluts that make money online and manage them and put them in his stable and take a cut of the action. That's how a pimp operates. Offer them protection, management, and all those things that a pimp does. Especially taking a lot of the money. And it's not on TikTok. It's OnlyFans. It's all the PORN cam websites that he was talking about for PORN, not TikTok. These are PORN websites that they'd put girls on, and maybe things like OnlyFans, where in TikTok you're not going to make a whole lot of money like you can at those other sites where you take your clothes off for money and perform sexual acts for the public. Now here's the big problem here. Ever since I saw this guy for the first time, I had a gut feeling and I got the vibe he's a slime ball. And then so I did some research and I found out that he has all this self-help for men where teaching them how to be digital pimps and make money through women online. Basically become slut makers. Which degrades our society greatly if we have a bunch of promiscuous women running around and young ladies. That also lends itself to the abortion crisis we're dealing with. Because 90+% of abortions are just women being careless sexually. When they say RAPE is they need abortion rights in case a man forces himself on them and impregnates them, or in case there's some incest incident or medical emergency. I crunched all the numbers and I'm going to make a video on it pretty soon. They're lying. They're using the exception to the rule to get these rights, when the rule actually is, and the generalization that we can objectively make is that they are killing 90+% of abortions. They're killing babies for just sexual carelessness. Having sex too young, having sex out of marriage, before marriage and outside of marriage. And the data shows it's even older women too, who just don't want the burden of a child, but they want to have their legs open and not even track their periods like morons. But don't worry, I'm going to bring you the data and the evidence and the receipts to prove what I'm talking about right now with abortion. That'll come in a later video. I'm trying to connect the dots for you that shows you when we have degenerate men like this creating sluts all over the society and prostitutes, that degrades our society's sexual morality, and it destroys both men and women ultimately. These are not good kinds of people. And the right, conservatives, whatever you want to call yourselves, you gotta boot this guy out of the camp. He belongs really with the leftists, because that's where sexual immorality, degeneracy, criminality is more flourishing on that side. So we should just kick him over there. And everybody knows that that's where immorality and sexual criminality, all of their idols and martyrs are criminals. Why do you think that is? It's because they also are criminally minded. They want to see criminality flourish and order be made into chaos. That's how it all works. All right, so before I get off of here, I want to talk about masculinism or masculism. This is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard coming from men, because you're doing the same thing that women did in creating feminism. Now with masculism, I feel it is just another way to make another community that can walk around with signs and protest and burn things down. If this catches hold, what we're going to have are people just like the feminists with pink hats. We're going to have a bunch of men running around, holding signs, hooping and hollering and screaming, masculinity is not toxic, masculinity is not toxic. Don't do that, gentlemen. Just be men. When somebody tells you that masculinity is toxic, you say, okay, and go about your day. That's what a man does. Or you can rationally debate the person about it. But if somebody's saying that, they're stupid. Just as stupid as somebody saying femininity is toxic. Those are both dumb ideas. That femininity is toxic and that masculinity is toxic. Those are both stupid demonic ideas that make people go in the streets and burn cities down. Because we're all a bunch of morons. So here's my advice to all the gentlemen listening. Don't get caught up in this whole masculinism or masculism movement that's forming right now. And definitely make sure that you do your research into people that you're making your role models and your idols. Or somebody you might say, I look up to that guy because he says such and such and such. And with Andrew Tate, I agree with half the stuff he says. Most of the stuff he says, I agree with it. But I don't like this whole masculinism. It's getting to feel like a masculism movement is forming. And that is stupid. It's very effeminate. That's how I'm going to put it. It's very effeminate for you to start a new movement or community and, oh, you're marginalized. You're a protected class now, huh? All you masculinists. You want to be a protected class? You really want to be one of those kind of people that says, oh, we need to be a protected class. Because everybody that I know that is part of a protected class is weak. It's a weakness to jump yourself into a protected class. Like me, I can jump into the people of color basket, but I believe the people of color, the entire concept of people of color is demonic. And it pretty much just excludes white people from being human with everybody else. Because I did the research on it. Everybody else is a person of color. Even Chinese people that have lighter skin than white folks. It makes no sense, and you can tell that it's just demonic. And it goes against people who are doing really well. And people who aren't doing as well want to make some kind of way to weave their way into all of that good stuff that the other group has going on. That's what it's all about. To force their way in. So gentlemen, please don't do this whole thing. Don't start a masculist movement. Please. God. Bunch of bitch boys. So by all means, if you want to learn how to be a womanizer, somebody that uses women as a commodity, or if you want to be a digital pimp yourself, or maybe you want your kids to be digital pimps, sure, let them have this guy as their role model and see how the future turns out. You guys are making a giant mistake making this man one of your role models. What about your dad? What about your uncle? Why does it have to be always money-hungry, greedy slime bags that we're making role models for young men? It's stupid. No, I'm no lawmaker, but when it comes to morality, that is an immoral person, or he used to be an immoral person, but I think he's still that way. Because look how pimps are. When they get their money from the ladies, they buy fancy cars, nice clothing, lots of jewelry. He has all the symptoms of being a pimp. And he's got all the characteristics, and he's admitted it. I just showed you the video. He's making money teaching other men how to do what he perfected. And that's how he made most of his money, not kickboxing. There's plenty of kickboxing champs who are dirt poor right now. Or people who used to be kickboxing champs in their youth, and they've squandered their money and they're dirt poor right now. Being a kickboxing champ doesn't make you wealthy for life. And the amount of wealth that this man has accumulated, that he says he has accumulated, he could be lying. He might not be wealthy at all. He might be like the Island Boys. Island boy, I got all the girls and all the girls. So the sluts and the slut makers are ruining our society. That's part of the degradation. And not to mention all the killing of the babies in the womb for sexual carelessness. Like I said, I've got a nice video planned out, and I have all of the things that's missing from the abortion debate. I put into a nice little list, things that nobody's talking about, things that would help fix the problem that nobody's talking about. So this is what I got coming up. Next I have coming up is the history of the right and the left. What do you want to call it? Conservative versus liberal, right versus left. I'm going to talk about when those terms first appeared in history, which anybody can search that on a search engine and find out that it came from 1700s France and all around Europe. But I've found stuff that goes way deeper into ancient times, and it's the same personalities, it's the same characteristics, attributes, and strategical socio-political movements. It's the same people, the same personalities of the liberal versus the conservative playing out in ancient times, and I'm going to bring it all to light. I'll tell you what their names were, what the labels they had for them back then, and we'll see what people wrote about those two groups. We'll see if it matches up with today's left and right. And I also have the abortion video coming, where I'm not going to go crazy on people, because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. But there are things missing from the abortion discussion that need to be discussed that nobody's really bringing up. People are focused on these talking points that don't even really address the problem or call out the lies that are being told about why they need abortion rights. Nobody's really calling out that lie good enough. Nobody's really talking about we're out of control with promiscuity. Nobody's talking about young men and women tracking a female's period cycle with a simple app you can download for free. These are things nobody's talking about. Or I don't hear anybody talking about them in the grand scale of the debate. Now what this is, this whole masculism thing, it's basically a reaction. So we're caught up in this cycle where one group gets demonized, and then there's a reaction, and then they become, once their reaction comes, they're going into protests, and then they become a marginalized protected class and a community, and basically young men are being taught that they're no good in their natural way of being, that they're not good, they're toxic, evil, whatever you want to do it. The feminists are going, they went way too far, and now what we're dealing with now is a reaction to that. Men are sick and tired of hearing that no matter what they do, just naturally created by nature or God, they're toxic people. Unless they become more feminine or effeminate, which is a load of bullcrap coming from the left. So now you have this reaction from the right. Well done, everybody.